Greetings and welcome back to the lab. It's finally time to start that project that I've been talking about. So I want to give you the background on the project, and I'm going to give you the simplest version of the project, and I will eventually put links. I'll probably post on Thingiverse so you can find, and I'll put a link in the description once I've got all that done. So you can build the simplest version of this project, but there's going to be a few parts because I've got some extensions to the project. So here's the idea. I want to build a rocket ship. This one is actually an early prototype. I was playing with 3D printing, and let me give you sort of the background story real quick on this. I had an idea where I wanted to do a projector. I wanted to be able to project stars on the ceiling. So you had kind of a star-filled sky at night, and maybe little kids would enjoy it. And that was the thinking. So what I came up with was something like this, and finding parts here while I go. I had handy, just as a test, I had this ring of addressable LEDs. And what that does for me is it has animations built in. I could customize the animations, but I didn't want to get into programming for this project. I do know programming, but I just wanted to get something started. So you can see I've got some nice colors going on there. And my thought was if I had a tube with some kind of profile on the top like that, I could generate the stars. Now, just to demonstrate a little bit of what that does, I'm going to put this here. I'm going to move my fan so it doesn't blow it away. And let me kill the lights. So hopefully you can see what that looks like. Now, that's not a perfect star pattern, or it's too perfect, really. It needs to be more random. So I was playing with various different ideas, and I started printing out different pieces. You turn the lights back on. And this is actually two pieces that after playing around for a bit, I discovered, okay, I can make it interchangeable. I can print out a giant tube like this. And then I realized I could attach this piece on top of it, although they're not perfectly printed. My designs were not perfect on this. So that led me to printing more tubes and having more ideas. And I ended up printing a couple of these. Let me get rid of the tape. Should have thought this part through ahead of time. So I had a couple of these pieces, and after several attempts at printing, including this one and this one and a few of these, I was trying to figure out, okay, well, this was originally designed to go on top of here, but it didn't fit perfectly. I got the dimensions wrong. I kept playing with it, and then I decided to shrink it down. When I shrunk it down to this, actually, it should be like that, I then ultimately had to shrink down the cap. And this doesn't, it does kind of fit, but it's not perfect. So I was sitting there playing with that. I'm going, well, okay, it's not going to be tall enough. So I need something like that. And so that, started, okay, use your imagination. It could be other things. And then I said, well, wait a minute. What if I have a large board, something larger than this, and I want to put a bigger tube like this one? Then I'm going to need some kind of flare to go from here to there. And when I put all of these together, it just dawned on me all of a sudden, that's a rocket ship. That's a kid's rocket ship. That's just a tiny little representation. So I built this. It still had some issues, so I kept playing with it. What I ended up with ultimately was this one. Let me clear some of this away. And I said, well, okay, if I'm going to make this, I can make it really simple, and this is the simple one. Or, since I've got this giant cavity in here, see, this does fit together really well, I could make a battery holder and put that in there and put some electronics, and I could have lights lighting this up, and I could have lights down in the bottom part here. And then I said, okay, that's good. I've got something to kind of represent this thing going through the sky. Let's use this as sort of an example. Imagine this is taking off. If you had lights up here, it could represent the sky or piercing the sky as it's going through. And then down at the bottom, of course, we need to have the flames that are coming out the bottom of your rocket. So I've got that worked out. And that is why I made this translucent. And that's why I made this part here. Where did I put it? Oh, yeah. This part translucent. So then I said, okay, if I'm gonna do all of this, but if maybe somebody decides to print this for their kid, and sure, you can print it in different colors and you can paint it, do whatever you want to do that would be safe. And I'm not taking responsibility for the safety here. I'm just giving you the design. It's up to you to make sure it's safe. But what I did do is I gave you one additional piece, which was this piece here, which you can then stick in the bottom. And that way you don't have sharp corners here. You might want to sand it down just slightly to ease that corner. But when you put this together with this, and if I kind of wedge this in between for you, let's just say we do it like that. Now you've got, it's even better than this. Because what I'm ultimately going to do is there's going to be a circuit board that's going to go in the top. And I have that nearby. So you'll have a circuit board that goes in top, and it'll have a connector that'll go down there. And you can push it in. I printed this in low quality, so the tolerances are a little bit off. But if you can imagine that being there and the top being on, now that's actually the flames, that's not the other. But just to give you an idea. So this will all go together. This is really the intro to this project. It'll all be self-contained. The only trick is going to be when you want to change the batteries, you got two choices. You can put in disposable batteries, which I'm not really a fan of, the kind that you can't recharge them. You can put them in there. I think this cavity is big enough to fit 3 AAA batteries. That would be enough to give you the voltage you need to actually run this. But then also you're having to, every time you want to turn it off, you're going to have to take the batteries out and disconnect them and all of that. So I got to thinking and I said, why not rechargeable batteries? Now you can get various types of rechargeable batteries. You could do 3 rechargeable AA batteries. That'll get you close. This is going to be a little bit dimmer than with the regular batteries. But there's also the part down here, you can fit another one of these circuit boards. This is really how this is supposed to work. This one goes, that lead goes in there. I don't want to give the whole thing in this one video, but this will still go on. And so that's my thinking is I've got that much worked out. I've got the electronics built and actually proved to myself that it works. But there's one step left, and that is to figure out if I've got batteries in here and I don't want to have to take this thing apart and pull the batteries out and all the electronics that come with it. I wanted to have something convenient so you could take this and it'll have a board beneath it. So you can take a charging pad and you may have to take the bottom off. I haven't figured out how to get the bottom on there without it showing up as a reflection in the light that's being produced here. But if you could do it this way, and I had it down close enough to this pad, you can put it on a pad and it'll just recharge like that. When it's done charging, put this back on, you're off and running. Okay. Then there's another step I want to do where I actually put switches on the side so you can choose to turn either the top or the bottom or both on or have them both off, or you can turn it all on at the same time. The first couple of switches will be temporary switches, so you have to actually be holding your fingers on the switches. So if you're flying through the air, you got that. And if you want to then say that the fire, the flames end up burning out down here, you just let go of one switch, and that's, you're still holding it, but that lets go of it. And so this is really kind of the idea. Now that part of it's not fully developed yet, figuring out exactly how I'm going to get the switches in there. But that gives you a vision of the whole project and what I'm working on there. And I want to get this, I wanted to get something out for this project. So the first video, this is the first video on this project, and I will have something available in the description that will a link that'll take you to where you can download all of these parts. I might even make some of these parts available, but in a corrected form where they actually fit together well. This is much lighter than this one because I printed this with a 2mm wall, and this is a 3mm wall, so it's a little bit heftier and probably a bit more rugged, so it won't fall apart. That's the idea. So my apologies for the loud sounds. In post editing, I'll turn those down. But that gives you an idea. That's that project. At some point, I'll come back to the project where I try to do a projector through here. That's why there's a tiny little hole in the top here, is that if you have this ring of lights here, actually, it'd be better if I did it with this one. You have the ring of lights here, and you have that. You can't see the lights anymore because the plastic is obscuring them, but you could take a piece of paper to represent it going dark, and hopefully that will show up. Yeah, that's not showing up, so this is the problem I ran into. And ultimately, lights coming back. Ultimately, that's why I veered off of one idea onto another. So this has morphed a few times until I got to this project, and now I've got something done. I got another one in the works, and eventually I'll come back to trying to do this. I mean, I suppose if you wanted to, you could print this in red and just have a simple white light underneath it. Maybe multiple. If you've got a tiny little flashlight, actually, that could work, now that I think of it. So if I had this and a flashlight, here we go, and my flashlight is actually powering the ring of lights. But imagine if you had a really small flashlight, and then you could just have that, and this would, light up whatever color you printed. So if you want something, if you want blue to represent the sky, there you go. You want red for the flare at the bottom, there you go. There's your red for the flare at the bottom, or orange to represent the flames, maybe. And then maybe have another cap like I had on the bottom of this. So this is not a sharp edge. And then you've got light shining down in there. So that's the thinking. I'll put a bunch of those files together. If there's something missing that you want to see, I can update my listing. I'm probably going to put it on Thingiverse. So look for it, or look in the description, and I will have links to everything I've mentioned and a link to the project on Thingiverse, so you can see the various different versions, and there'll be one labeled as simple. That'll be just for, if you just want to have the model. So you can say, hey, here, I printed a rocket ship for you. You can actually extend this with more of these, so it doesn't have to be, now I wish I could just put this together. I don't know that this is going to work. They are supposed to be the same dimension, but imagine you could have a rocket ship being that tall. A little hard to do because it's not snapping together for me. So, but that's the idea. So, I hope you like it. Definitely let me know by liking. If you want other people to see this, try sharing it. And if you want to subscribe to see more of my projects, feel free. Thank you so much for watching.